Hey, welcome back folks, another day on Sling Mountain. I'm sat down today though, aren't I, so it might mean it's going to be a little chatty one, but not too long I don't think. I am wearing a harness as well though, because there's a couple of little things I want to show you still. Wearing my nice Beastie Boys t-shirt today. This is properly old, this just about fits me. I watched this Ace thing with Mike D and Ad Rock last night. It's like them on stage just chatting about the history of the Beastie Boys, and they're probably one of my favourite bands ever, the band that like got me into music really, I think. So I flipping loved that, so check that out if you can. Well good. Loads of cool chat and loads of old footage and some mega tunes of course. Anyway, waffle. There's a load of assisted braking devices here on my like sport climbing bag. So I just wanted to chat today about why I think the Grigri is flipping ace, okay? And as part of that I want to chat about a few other devices as well. So we'll crack on. First one I've put here is the click up, right? And what you'll find with these kind of devices in general, that people get really defensive about them. So if you say to someone, the click up's my favourite assisted braking device, they'll be like, what are you talking about? It's utterly rubbish, you need to use a Grigri. If you say to someone else, Grigri is my favourite belay device, they'll be like, what are you chatting about? The click up's the best thing in the world ever, you shouldn't use a Grigri, they're dangerous. Insert different belay device words into there, but people get really, it's odd isn't it? They get really defensive about it. I don't really care what people use, use what you want, isn't it? The click up though, 55-ish quid. I've been looking at the prices this morning to double check I'm saying the right sort of figure. There's a newer one available than this now. Comes with the carabiner. It's supposed to be used with the specific ones to do with the hardness of the metal. Assisted braking, so it locks up really well, this one. If you load it the wrong way, it still works as a belay device, but it hasn't got the assistance, so that's maybe a good thing. And just simple, isn't it, right? There's nothing, no moving parts or anything like that, so I quite like them. 55 quid seems a little bit on the steep side for what it is to me, but you know, that's just what I think. Another one that we've got here is the Mammoth Smart. Again, there's a newer version of this out. The thing I like about this one is for lowering, you can hook your thumb under there and you can keep both hands on the braking strand. I think that's really good because some other belay devices, assisted braking devices, you can't do that. It's quite carabiner specific. I'm sure Mammoth recommend a particular one if you look on their website. But some crabs you'll put in there and you won't get so much assistance. Other crabs you'll put in, you get a really good amount of assistance. Probably depends a bit on the rope as well actually. But about 30 quid, so that's not bad, is it? Yeah, that seems like a reasonable price for an assisted braking device. Well, it's better than reasonable actually. This one is like at the other end of the scale, the Wild Country Revo. I'm not sure how you say it. It's I don't much care either because I don't like it, to be honest. What I do like about it, it's like a work of art, isn't it? Right, it's a nice chunky bit of metal. It's got these cool colours in it. This spinny thing in there. It certainly looks good. It feels like a good piece of engineering. It looks like that. But the retail's like 110 quid or something. You can get it a bit cheaper. I saw it for 90 quid this morning on the internet. Can load it either way. As with all these devices, there's pros and cons to them. This is far from my favourite device, but there's nearly always good points about these things. And I think the main one about this one is it pays out and takes in like super smooth, really smooth. So that's a really good thing. It's assisted braking, so it does lock up when you make falls off, but they have to reach a certain speed. If you look on the website, I'm sure it will tell you. So your mate does end up, in my experience, taking a little bit of a ride before it locks up. I'm not talking like flipping miles, but they do go a bit, and because you have to hit that certain speed, does give me a few sort of causes for concern potentially. You have to kind of have a play with opening it and loading it and stuff. When I just chuck it at someone, say use that, some people get it straight away, others it requires a bit of thought, so you know, read the manual if you do get one. Don't see many people using them, probably mostly because of that price. That doesn't feel like they really solve any issues that exist in other devices. I'm not sure if I just mentioned you can load it both ways, bi-directional, so, but I'm not sure that's really an issue for other devices, I don't know. Anyway, Wild Country Revo, good bit of engineering, but not for me. The ones that are for me are Grigris really, and I'm just going to show you like the original one. It's a Grigri one. Works at 10 to 11 millimeter ropes, probably old this, but it's worn pretty well actually. There's somewhere where the rope rubs over, but not shed loads to be fair. There's probably plenty of life left in that yet. These assisted braking devices, they have the handles, so you have to pull the handle to lower, right, and keep one hand on the braking strand, and it rolls over the spit and you lower away. And that's one of the reasons people don't like them, is because you have to take one hand off the braking strand. And the other thing is, right, if you pull the handle and fully open it, and you do let go or something, then it's just going to fly through there, okay, and you've only got one hand on it. And there is chat about when people panic, maybe they pull it harder rather than just letting go. If they let go, it should all lock up again, but maybe they don't, maybe they pull harder. So that's a bit of a thought, isn't it? The main reason people don't like them is kind of when you're paying out slack, this can jam up sometimes, but I'll talk about that in a minute on the newer Grigri. Those are brilliant though. The newer one, this is, I think they're just called Grigri again. We had like the Grigri 2, the Grigri Plus and all sorts, and I think you can still get a Plus, but this one now is just called a Grigri. Bit lighter. Importantly though, they work on a wider range of ropes between 8.5 and 11 millimeters. So that's pretty good, because that's 10 to 11. I mean, I don't think I have many ropes that are that diameter. This one, I normally use about 9 for a sport rope, so this is much better for that. So you can use those outside those ranges there, but then you're outside of the manufacturer's guidance, so that's not something I'd recommend doing. This one, that's what we're on about, it's got the right recommendations on it. So it's the same principle, right? You can see that when the rope pulls on it, it cams up like that and it bites against the rope. And what I like to do when I'm sort of teaching people about a Grigri and showing them how to use it is actually load it up, and you can see there's a picture, you might not be able to see it on the camera, but a picture of the climber, a picture of the braking hand on the device. So you can just literally load it up, but not finish off. Normally you close that and clip it, but for just showing someone how it works, this is quite a nice thing to do. I'll do the carabiner, I'm not sure there's much point. But now braking strand down here, climber up on that side, and you can just see how it goes through, and you can demonstrate that if your climber falls off, right, it locks up like that. So you can see on this side that the cam just bites into the rope, and that's how it works. We're still going to belay properly and hold on to this braking strand, absolutely we are. You release and it goes back to there. It's just quite nice to see how it actually works, I think. I mentioned the prices of the other ones. This one is, I saw it for 50 quid somewhere. I'll put a link in the description if you've got money burning a hole in your lockdown pocket. But let's load him up properly this time and just talk about a couple of things about why I like it. The newer Grigri has this little tab of metal there, and that's quite useful actually, because sometimes on the older ones the rope can come out here and it doesn't unload itself or anything, that gets jammed in, which is just a bit of a pain. Not unsafe as such, but it's a bit of a pain. All you had to do is hit it and it would get back out, but that stops that happening. So I quite like that as a new design feature for these newer ones. But I clip him in, do him up of course, and then when we're doing our buddy checks, check my mate's knot and harness and all that jazz, and check the other end of the sport rope is tied into the rope bag. It's important for safety, that, isn't it? We know that. But then we just go, and you can hit it and it locks up, so that's just a real visual way of seeing, alright, yeah, that's all loaded up. Is it done up as well? Yeah, great, good to go. So I do like that. So people don't like them because of that whole lowering thing, alright, which I don't think is a problem as long as we're properly trained to use the device. That's the same as any device though, isn't it? You've got to be properly trained at doing it and properly practiced, okay? The other thing that people don't like is if you pay out slack really quick, what can happen is it locks up and you can't give slack to your leader. But actually, especially on the newer Grigris with these slightly skinnier ropes, look how quick it can go through. That's pretty quick, isn't it? Like, you can give out a lot of slack, you can hear it sort of almost engaging, but if you get the angle right, you can bang out slack properly quick. Now, there is another technique as well. There's a little sort of thumb press there. And what you see some people doing is putting the fingers underneath the whole Grigri. We don't like that, okay? Just to be clear, that's not what we do. So you can compress the whole thing. You can bosh out loads of slack, no drama. The problem being though, is that you could, if your mate falls off, grip really tight onto the Grigri and therefore wedge it open. So we don't like that. On the Petzl website, it will show you how to do it properly. It's all about this finger going under this little lip there. So you put your finger there, Then you put your hands around the rope, so you're not grabbing the whole device this time, just the lip, and then you can bang out loads of slack. The idea being if they do fall off, there's no way you can hold that open. Your finger just comes off if they fall off and it's fine. And then you keep hold of that breaking strand, it locks up and you're all good. Okay. So with a bit of practice, I think I can give out slack quicker on a Grigri than any other device, to be honest. And that's the key really, it's a bit of practice. When I first started climbing, I didn't like Grigri, to be honest. The main reason for that, well, I hadn't really used them much because I was a trad climber and these are like sport type devices, and I'll come on to that again in a minute. But I just hadn't used them much, so I found them really awkward to use. But now I use them a lot, they're just like second nature, and I find them much smoother to use than even an ATC type device, to be honest. When you are giving out slack, and this is applicable to any belay device, remember, it's not just that armful that we're giving out. We can also, and I might get a shot a little bit here, but I'll do it anyway. You can stand up, and then what we actually do is we're watching our belay our climber really closely. And when we need to give out slack, as well as giving it that way, we take a step forwards, so you can actually bang out slack really quick. I don't like seeing people sort of just rooted to the spot when they're belaying. Unless there's a reason to, like a hanging belay, you can't really run around on that, or you're on a narrow little ledge, some places like Chile, I go a lot like that, and you just can't move around a massive amount. So you've got to bear that in mind, but you can give out slack really quickly, right? The other thing I need to mention at this point is that when my mate does fall off, I'm holding on to this breaking strand, but you can see it doesn't require any effort, okay? So I'm not going to let go, although you will see people doing it, they shouldn't be, okay? And if my mate just wants a rest, take in there, they shout down, so I take in, it goes tight on them, they just sit back, it locks up, I cover that rope, but I'm not having to stand there going, please hurry up, kind of thing. So they are kind of ideal for sport climbing. I keep mentioning sport climbing, okay? Can you use a Grigri for trad climbing? I get asked that sometimes. What's the problem with it? Okay, an assisted braking device, there's no slip. When your mate falls off, it locks up, right? On a ATC or a Reverso, the Petzl version, there is some slip, okay? So it's almost like shock absorption going on. Now we'll talk about something called impact force on your top bit of gear when your mate falls off leading. Have a Google at that if you don't know what it is, because there'll be better explanations than I can do justice in a few seconds of this video. But basically it's the amount of kilonewtons that's going through that top anchor, and it's going to depend on how big the fall is, how much rope is out, how stretchy the rope is, any give in the belay and all that kind of stuff, and the belay device. But to give you some general figures, these are off the Petzl website. And Petzl got a lot of good stuff on their website. They've done some comparisons, and in a factor 1 fall, again, Google that if you don't know what it is, the factor 1 fall on that top bit of gear, a Reverso type device, will have an impact force of around 4 kilonewtons, okay? To put that into context, the Grigri will give an impact force of about 6 kilonewtons, okay? So it's only 2 more, but percentage-wise, quite a lot, isn't it? And why does that matter? Well, sometimes it'll matter and sometimes it won't. If you take, for example, a big number 11 nut, one of those green ones, wedged in a mega crack, so it's a perfect placement, they're rated to 12 kilonewtons. So as long as that's a really good placement, does it matter if it's a Grigri or a Reverso? No, it shouldn't really matter, should it? But what about if you're climbing and you've placed a little brass nut, one of those really small micro ones? Well, they might be only rated to about 4 kilonewtons. So then it might well matter, mightn't it? So it does kind of depend. You will see people trad climbing using a Grigri. And it's a judgment thing, as with so much of climbing, it's a judgment thing. It might well be safe to do so. I've done it. Do I normally do it? No. What's another big reason for me not normally doing it? Well, I normally climb on 2 ropes, don't I? Half ropes, double ropes, whatever you want to call them. Grigri ain't going to work with that, is it? It's a single rope device. For the Mammoth Smart and the Click Up, you can get a 2-rope version, but it doesn't exist for the Grigri. So it's kind of a moot point anyway for us, isn't it? Other people in other countries, their default is to climb on a single for trad. Some places, not everywhere. And so there you might see Grigri and other devices like a Grigri being used more commonly. But for us on our half ropes, so we kind of default to a Reverso, an ATC, that kind of thing. And that's absolutely what I'd use normally, okay? I can't think of the last time I used a Grigri to belay someone on a trad route. I do take them with me trad climbing sometimes in a work sense, not in a personal climbing sense, but in a work sense, and I'll explain for why. Imagine I've got my clients and we're going to the slate quarries and doing a bit of climbing there, and I'm kind of doing guiding stuff. So they're belaying me up a route, I'm placing the gear, and then they're following me up. They'll belay me on a normal ATC type device. I'll get to the top, make myself safe, all that jazz, and then I might choose to use a Grigri to belay them up. I could use my ATC guide, couldn't I, and have that set up in guide mode, so it's giving me that sort of locking ability. But actually, if I think I'm going to have to lower them, I've discussed this in other videos, I'd rather not set it up in guide mode because it's a bit of a faff to turn that into lowering mode, isn't it? So that's where a Grigri could be really good. So imagine I've gone into Bus Stop Quarry in the slate, and I've led them up Equinox, great, and they've got up to the top there. I might just lower them down to save them walking back down, or maybe they'll walk around. And then, because next to that, Equinox is a VS, next to that is an HVS called Solstice. And maybe that's pushing them a little bit, because sometimes I use the slate to sort of push people a bit, and actually failing can be quite good sometimes to build some trust in the rope and the gear, and me as well, and it can work on some footwork and stuff, so there might be a chance of having to lower them. I could just use an Italian hitch, couldn't I? But what I could do is I could use Grigri, and I'm going to clip that in, climber over here, into my anchors, give it a little spin round to gravity load it. And now I could belay them up like this, couldn't I? I could just shuffle it through, great. They fall off, oof, it locks up, brilliant. This is on the Petzl website, and the wording's interesting. They say it's okay, but the wording is something like it's not ideal, okay? Ideal would be a slightly different setup, but they say it's okay to use, and I do use it. As I've said with other things climbing many times, it's all about judgment. I've deemed this to be okay in the situation I'm using it. I'm okay with the weaknesses. The weakness being, I've not got that Z shape going on. So if I was using a really skinny rope, it's not ideal for that. And if using a slightly fatter rope, I'm okay with it. So they've fallen off there. To lower them, right, I have to let go of that for a second. I put both hands on the dead rope, but then I need to open the handle. But now I haven't really got much friction here, so I'd need to get behind the device. So what I do for this is I get my other carabiner, and I get put that, again, sorry if I go out of shot for a moment, I put that up there and I redirect the braking strand. Okay, so now that has got the Z shape going on, so I can grab the handle and lower it, and it's in the right position. So that's quite a nice thing to do, some direct belaying. Works really well in a work sense, that one, but it's got some judgments to be made, so I'm going to say that it's not a normal thing to do. Normally you'd have a slightly different setup. Again, have a look at the Petzl website if that's something you're interested in, because they've got it in black and white. Their website is really good for telling you what is good and what is no good, right, with their kit. So have a look at it. So something like that, I've decided it's okay, but I'm aware of its limitations as well, okay. So, Grigris, I love them. I'm pretty sure one of these has saved my bacon. I've given the anecdote before about my little sport climbing incident, falling a long way once upon a time, and being caught by my belayer on a Grigri. So I do like them. I just find them so nice and smooth to use because I've used them a lot. If I never used a Grigri and I spent all my time being on a clicker, I'd probably be doing this video saying why I love the clicker. Right, so don't get like super sucked into thinking one is the best thing or that thing's rubbish or whatever. You use whatever you want to do. Like I say, even with the Revo that I'm not a fan of, it's certainly got its good points. So if someone tells you that's their favourite device and they've got some reasons behind it, well, great, that's good for them. It's all good, isn't it? All these devices are only as good as the person using them. That is the key, right? If you think that's unsafe, that's unsafe, that's unsafe, inherently they're not. They are safe things. It's the belayer that is either good or not good at what they're doing, alright? I'll leave that there. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it was of some use. Have a think about it. Let me know what you think. Do you use a Grigri? Do you use a birdie? Do you use this or that? Let me know why you like it, because I'm always keen to learn more myself. We never stop learning, do we? We certainly shouldn't. You know the score about find us on Insta, find us on Facebook, like us, follow us, all that stuff. It's much appreciated. I know I say that all the time as well, but honestly it is really appreciated. Click that like button, smash the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. More videos coming up very soon.